Hi, ECS Eagles. Mrs. Willem here again, and we are starting with Chapter 13 in Shiloh. I'm back not sleeping again. Everything I can think of to try, I've already thought on and turned down. I've even thought of Dad and me driving to Middlebourne and going to the country courthouse to report a man who's mean to his dogs, thinking maybe they would let Judd have Shiloh back again. Dad says that's where we'd have to go, all right, but how am I going to prove it about Judd? Think about that, he says. I've been thinking about it. Do I really suppose they'd send an investigator all the way out from Middlebourne to see about a man said to kick his dogs? And if they did I think Judd's going to tell the man, yes, indeed, he does kick them. Do I think the investigator's going to hide out in the bushes near Judd Travers' place for a week just to see for himself? Tyler County hasn't hardly got the money to investigate reports of a child being kicked, Dad says, much less dogs. Even if I told the animal rights people that I found a dog with a bullet hole in its head up near Judd's house, don't prove that Judd was the one who killed it. I go out to talk to Dad about it some more while he's chopping wood. And he just says, son, it's hard, I know, but sometimes you just got to do what has to be done. It's Judd's dog, and there's no getting around it. Ma tries to make me feel better. She says, at least I brought some joy and kindness into the life of a dog that never had any before, and that Shiloh will never forget me. But that makes it worse. Wish he could forget. Keep thinking of how Shiloh's going to look at me when we drive him over to Judd's, and my eyes fill up again. Becky, she's been crying too. So has Darylyn. The one good thing about it is now the one good thing about it now is that the whole family loves Shiloh and we can talk about him out loud. But there's one thing we can do. But there's not one thing we can do. 3 more days and we have to give him up. I walked down to Friendly on Friday to talk with David Howard. David feels almost as bad as I do. I hardly finished telling about Shiloh and he's got tears in his eyes already. David Howard's 30 pounds heavier and bigger than me and he still don't care who sees him cry. I've been thinking, David, I said. You got relatives in Ohio, don't you? He nods. You think any of them would take Shiloh? Could you call them up and ask if they could drive down here tomorrow and take him back with them? And I'll tell Judd we let Shiloh out one day and he never came back. More lies. But David's shaking his head already. It's only Uncle Clyde and Aunt Pat. She's allergic to dogs. They had one once and had to give him up. On the way back home, I'm thinking about someplace really good I'd like to hide that dog. The old grist mill, maybe up by the bridge. The door's padlocked, but it don't take much to get in because the top of the building's open where some of the roof's blown away. I bet I could hide Shiloh in there for 10 years. He'd never make a sound. But what kind of life is that? Couldn't never take him anywhere except after dark. Even then, he'd be so close to Judd's place, the other dogs would probably sniff him out. Slowly the minutes and hours of Friday tick by. Then it's Saturday, and our last day with Shiloh. We give him every little treat we can think of. A wonder we don't make him sick. And after supper, we sit out on the back porch like we usually do. Becca and Darylyn are rolling around in the grass, and Shiloh limps out there to join in the fun. I show Becky how if you lay down on your stomach with your arms up over your face, Shiloh will work to turn you over. Both girls have to try it, and Shiloh does, just like I said, trying his best to get those girls up on their feet. If Becky ever fell in the creek, I bet Shiloh would pull her out, Ma says. If I ever saw a snake, I bet Shiloh would kill it for me, says Darylyn. I got a sadness inside me growing so big I feel I'm about to bust. That night I sleep a little bit, wake a bit, sleep a bit, wake some more. About dawn, however, I know what I got to do. I get up quiet as can be. Soon as Shiloh hears me, of course, he's out of his box. Shh, Shiloh, I say, my finger to my lips. He watches me a moment, then crawls back in his box, good as ever. I dress, I pull on my sneakers, take me a slice of bread from the loaf on the counter, and a peach off the tree in the yard. Then I take the shortcut through the east woods towards Judd Travers. It's the only thing left to do. I talked to Dad and Ma, to David, and nobody's got any more idea what to do than they did before. What I'm fixing to do is talk to Judd Travers straight and tell him I'm not going to give Shiloh back. Rehearse many lines so often I can say 'em by heart. What I don't know, though, is what Judd's going to say, what he's going to do. I'll tell him he can beat me, punch me, kick me, and I'm not going to give that dog up. I'll buy Shiloh from Judd, but if he won't sell and comes to get him, I'll take Shiloh and head out in the other direction. Only way he can get his dog back is to take me to court. And then I'll tell the judge how Judd treats his animals. Halfway through the woods, I'm thinking that what I'm about to do could get my dad in a whole lot of trouble. Around here, it's serious business when you got a quarrel with your neighbor and you got to carry it as far as the law. Folks ain't no uh, Folks ain't that fond of Judd, and most of them like my dad. But when it comes to taking a man's property, I figure they'll side with Judd. I'm not making life one bit easier for my parents or Darylyn or Becky, but I just can't give up Shiloh without a fight. Will he shoot me? That thought crosses my mind too. Some kid got shot down in Mingo County once. Easy as pie for Judd Travers to put a bullet hole in my head, say he just didn't see me. I got to my feet, pointed toward Travers' place, though, and they ain't about to turn back. Still so early in the morning, the mist is rising up out of the ground, and when I come to a stretch of field, looks like the grass is steaming. Sky's light, but the sun hasn't showed itself yet. You live in a you live in hill country. It takes a while for the sun to rise. Got to scale the mountains first. I'm practicing being quiet. What I hope is to get to Judd's house before he's wide awake. Take him by surprise. He sees me coming half a mile off without Shiloh. He's likely to figure what I got to say and have his answer ready. I want to be sitting there on his porch the moment he gets out of bed. A rabbit goes lickety split in front of me, then disappears. I went out hunting with Dad once, and he said that when you first scare up a rabbit, it hops a short way, then it stops and looks back. That's when you got to freeze. Can't move nothing but your eyeballs, Dad says. What you have to look for is that shiny black dot, the rabbit's eye. If you look for the whole rabbit, you almost never see him because he blends into the scenery. So I don't move a muscle, and I look for the shiny black dot, and there it is. I wonder what's going on inside that rabbit. If its heart's pounding fierce, no way I could tell. It wasn't going to do it any. In no way I could tell if I wasn't going to do it harm. So I go on, back to the second stretch of woods, heading for that second field. I'm just about to come out of the trees when I stop dead still again. For right there in the meadow is a deer, a young doe. She's munching on something, and ever so often she stops, looks up, and then goes on eating again. Hardest thing in the world for me not to see how anybody could shoot an animal like that. Then I think of a couple winters ago, we hardly had any meat on our table, and I guess I could see how a father with 3 kids could shoot a deer. Hope I never have to, though. I'm just about to step onto the meadow when crack! It's the sound of a rifle. It splits the air and echoes back against the hills. The doe takes out across the meadow, heading for the woods. Its front legs rear up, and then its back legs. As it leaps, its tail, a flash of light. Crack! The rifle sounds again, and this time, the deer goes down. I can't move. One part of me wants to go out to the deer, and the other part knows that somebody's out here with a rifle shooting out of deer season. And before I can decide whether to go on or to turn back out of the woods, on the other side steps Judd Travers, rifle in hand. That's the end of chapter 13.